I don't have any bones to pick with the Community of Christ. They're like a woke church that is, I'm more like, hey, all these like woke people in our church, like you guys do realize like there's another woke version of the Mormonism y'all can go and be a part of if you want to.
Savage.
Like, just go there. Like they'll take you.
And they got snow around their chapels too. Look at that. And they got the cross right there in stained glass. It's very pretty. They got the whole North American
and we all know that as soon as a religion goes woke, they just explode. They get tons of members. Everybody wants to join. Just look at the Episcopalians. They're just doing great.
I'm spending money like I just got paid. $100 bills, tell them keep the change. Come on.
It's obvious unless you're a moron. Just go look at the paper and what they talk about when it comes to the church.
If pop a bottle about to make it rain, let me give you something now to celebrate. Come on.
Do you know what the newspaper's motto is?
Antis, the churches, all the time.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good.
First, do you think this is just clickbait gone wrong? Or do you think this is an honest accident? Or what?
It is intentionally trying to legitimize this other church as a legitimate heir to Joseph Smith.
So good.
All right, Jacob. So before you go, bro, I got to ask you. What was this post you made on Twitter? It looked pretty savage here. I'm going to put it on the screen so the audience can see. You literally posted an article from the Salt Lake Tribune that really caught my attention. I mean, I was surprised. It says, "For the first time, a woman will lead this church founded by Joseph Smith." I'm like, whoa, that's a headline. And you had responded, "Is the Salt Lake Tribune," or you'd reposted, "People actually thought the Salt Lake Tribune was a real newspaper," and reposted this Mr. Plum guy that says, "Is the Salt Lake Tribune even a real newspaper anymore? The Community of Christ was founded by Joseph Smith III, not the same Joseph Smith that founded the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints that everyone thinks of when they hear their name." So yeah, like I thought that was really, really weird. You know what I'm saying? That they would literally say, "For the first time, a woman will lead this church founded by Joseph Smith." And all of us need clickbait, right? But I was like, dude, there's no way the LDS church all of a sudden has a female prophet, especially not one that wears a cardigan like this, right? That is way too deep V for General Conference. That's like Martha Stewart in Sports Illustrated, man. That ain't going to fly.
After that, they fired everyone at Sports Illustrated. Did you hear about that? Sports Illustrated has literally fired all of their staff. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I know that they fired. Well, because now it's all like transgender dudes and body positivity giants. And it's like gone are the days of like, just hot chicks in Sports Illustrated. So anyway, yeah, so about this was wild, man. Like, so yeah. I clicked on it, and the weird thing that I noticed, my friend, we all need clickbait, okay? And then in the subheading, it says, "Oh, Community of Christ," right? But when I clicked on the link and looked it up for myself, they totally changed the headline. To "For the first time, a woman will lead this church," which traces back to Joseph Smith, which I would actually argue is factually incorrect. Joseph Smith III is not the same as Joseph Smith, all right? Just like Joseph F. Smith is not Joseph Smith. So look, all of us are in the internet game. All of us need, clicks and views, and sometimes we rely a little bit on clickbait. I wasn't sure if this was just like a glaring error done in ignorance, or if it was just like factual disinformation. So I wanted to push back, and I want to know if you had some insider scoops here, because you posted it, man. Well,
the Salt Lake Tribune, the reason I asked, like, it's not a real newspaper, you guys. It's a rag. It always has been, pretty much. There were periods where it was better, but like, I don't know if
they've won a couple. In their defense, they've won a couple Pulitzer prizes, right? That's got to count for something.
Like in the modern media world, like I have no respect for any. Look, obviously they have this kind of stuff. The difference is like we'll put out clickbaity titles that maybe you're inaccurate or whatever, have to change, but we aren't coming out and being like, "Oh, we are objective journalists." Like obviously the Salt Lake Tribune has a bias, but here's what people don't know, Cardin, and I don't know if the viewers of Ward Radio know this. What? Do you know the story of where the Salt Lake Tribune came from? Like its origin story?
No. Where'd it come from, dude? Well, I heard Quaquella's often talked about how when the KKK came to Utah and did its marches, the Deseret News said like, no, this is a secret combination. We don't want anything to do with this. This is fundamentally, doctrinally, and socially bad. And that apparently it was supported by the Salt Lake Tribune, according to him. Is that what you're getting at, bro? Or am I?
No, it goes back even further than that. So actually, it was founded essentially in 1868 by a guy named William Godbey. Do you know who William Godbey was?
No. Was he like a William Randolph Hearst or what?
No. William Godbey was an angry member of the church who was really annoyed with the church leadership at the time. And he created a paper basically to bag on the church. He formed a whole group called the Godbeyites that were a group, like a breakoff group to attack the church. And so the Salt Lake Tribune was literally founded as an anti-Mormon publication.
Really?
Like, that's literally what it was founded as. Now, to the credit, there was a time after this where it tried to moderate a little bit and be a little more fair-handed, but it's pretty obvious.
Like what, in the 80s? Because I've only ever known it as basically like a super progmo or anti-Mormon newspaper. Every once in a while, they'll do like a hit piece on a prominent anti-Mormon like John DeLynn that gets in like woke trouble for something progressive or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I've always been like painfully aware that they are not on our side. Like,
oh yeah,
for lack of a better term.
I'll read a quote from the edition that they had of the Salt Lake Tribune when Brigham Young died. Here's what it said about him in their kind of obituary or summary of who Brigham Young was. It says, he was illiterate and he made frequent boasts that he never saw the inside of a schoolhouse. His habit of mind was singularly illogical and his public addresses the greatest farrago of nonsense that has ever been put into print. He prided himself on being a great financier, and yet all of his commercial speculations have been conspicuous failures. He was an Areophant and pretended to be in daily communion with the Almighty. And yet he was groveling in his ideas, and the system of religion he formulated was well nigh satanic.
Okay, wait, hold on. So they said a farrago? What's a farrago?
I don't even know.
And then what was that other word that you used? Eliant or what?
I don't even know what that one is. An Areophant?
An Areophant? Yeah, you gotta. Wow. So
Google that one real quick.
Yeah, that one's pretty hardcore, man.
Yeah,
so,
a person, especially a priest in ancient Greece, who interprets sacred mysteries or esoteric principles.
Well, now that just sounds cool. Like, I don't know if that's a pejorative or if that's just a compliment, but that just sounds cool. So when did it stop being an anti-Mormon newspaper and just become kind of like, you know how they try and say alt-right? So we'll just call them alt-anti? Right.
So it was basically started by people who were politically opposed to the church, that had it's always been the anti-establishment Latter-day Saint political views magazine or newspaper, right? So It's always kind of had that. Now, it was really outright kind of what I just wrote, in the 1870s and all that. It wasn't until I think like the 1900s, in the 1920s through the 60s, it went through a period that was fairly balanced. Like, it wasn't obviously just an anti-Mormon rag, but come on, guys, go look at what the Salt Lake Tribune puts out. Not only is it anti-Mormon garbage, so much of it, it's just shoddy, crappy journalism. And that's where this, the church founded by Joseph Smith. It's like you guys.
Dude, they have 7 photos of me that are not a picture of me, but I'm in the caption of the photo in 7 or 8 different articles. And there's some poor actor out there that is not me, that is literally getting credited as me in supposedly the Pulitzer Prize winning newspaper of Utah by the Pulitzer Prize winning 2 religious authors. It's crazy, man. It's like when Sam Hyde, whenever there's a school shooter, somebody always posts a picture of Sam Hyde and says, oh, here's a picture of the shooter. And then there's always 7 or 8 news media outlets that are just so desperate to try and get ahead of the story that they're literally picking up pictures of I don't want to say an irrelevant comedian, but a non-mainstream canceled a decade ago comedian, that's that's put in the newspaper because they're just so desperate. It's like when Denzel Washington said, if you read the news, if you don't read the newspaper, you are uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. So anyway, I saw this article. Let's go back to this article here. For the first time, a woman will lead this church founded by Joseph Smith, which then was corrected to say, for the first time, a woman will lead this church, which traces back to Joseph Smith, both of which, I mean, the second one seems better than the first, but both actually seem wrong. First, do you think this is just clickbait gone wrong? Or do you think this is an honest accident or what?
It is intentionally trying to legitimize this other church as a legitimate heir to Joseph Smith. Okay, that's what it's trying.
Oh, you're
to do.
going hard in the paint with the sectarian argument here.
Yeah, no,
I see what you're saying here.
The group is an apostate group, and yeah, so. From the perspective of Latter-day Saint, absolutely. The thing is, what they know is that this will piss off the church. Remember, everything that the Salt Lake Tribune does has to be viewed through the lens that they are the opposition paper. They were founded as the opposition paper to the church. We are going to provide we're going to be the other voice. The church says this, we're going to say that, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's like, it's obvious unless you're a moron. Just go look at the paper, what they talk about when it comes to the church. It's all opposition, sort of. It's all polemic against the church.
Okay, well, I'm going to read what the article has to say here, and you can tell me if there's anything that's factually incorrect with it. It says, for the first time in its history, the Community of Christ, formerly known as the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, has appointed a woman to lead its global faith of 250,000 members, headquartered in Independence, Missouri. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought they were back east somewhere. That's interesting. Stassi D. Crom, who currently serves in the governing First Presidency, has spent nearly a quarter of a century in the full-time ministry of the faith that, like the much larger Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, traces its origins to Joseph Smith. Well, actually, it's to Joseph Smith III started the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which ultimately became the Community of Christ. And isn't the evidence of that even in their first founding name, the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Like, they were trying to claim the heirship through blood lineage, right? But from what I understand, that was actually never established by Joseph Smith. We did a whole article on the succession crisis in which Don Bradley, by the way, we're not here to say that, every other sect of Mormonism's thought process in this is wrong. You look at the Strangites and, they got their letter that they kind of believe was sent from Joseph Smith to James Strang that had the insinuation that he would be the follower. Joseph Smith clearly delineated both Brigham Young and Hiram Smith as his follower-uppers, as well as, I believe, Sidney Rigdon at one point. In the words of famous historian Don Bradley, the problem with Joseph Smith in the succession crisis wasn't that he didn't have enough successors, but that he had appointed too many. However, I can't point to a quote, at least that I know of, and this might be my ignorance here. I completely admit I am not a historian up there like Don Bradley. I love this stuff, but I haven't done the deep dive. I feel, more well-versed than the average bear, and I'm not aware of a claim by the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that Joseph Smith ever intended the priesthood to be like a bloodline, like kingship in medieval times, right?
Yeah, not that I know of either. And I'm not an expert on the succession crisis and all of that.
So we got two non-experts.
I don't believe that anyone else has priesthood keys. Like they, and I could go into that anyway. There's a lot to that.
Okay.
But my bigger thing is just this. I don't have any bones to pick with the Community of Christ. They're like a woke church that is. I'm more like, hey, all these like woke people in our church, like you guys do realize like there's another woke version of Mormonism you all can go and be a part of if you want to.
Savage.
Like, just go there. Like they'll take you.
And they got snow around their chapels too. Look at that. And they got the cross right there in stained glass. It's very pretty. They got the whole North American
and we all know that as soon as a religion goes woke, they just explode. They get tons of members. Everybody wants to join. Just look at the Episcopalians. They're just doing great.
Oh, geez, savage. All right, dude. So anyway, you think that this is this poor, what's her name here? We got a new author here. I'm not familiar with this one. Her name is T. Kemsley at sltrib.com. So I see the names Tamara or Tamara. I don't know how you pronounce it. But she seems like a nice person trying to do her, I assume, trying to do her best. But
if she works at the Salt Lake Tribune, unfortunately, she's working for a garbage rag that's in opposition to the church and probably gonna hold her to the highest journalistic standards if it fits their agenda. So that's my take on it.
Hey, well, look, when I'm a billionaire, I'm just going to pull an Elon Musk and buy it. You know what I'm saying? And then actually make it be a fun newspaper or something like that. So, we're going to reach out. We're going to reach out to Tamara Kemsley. I've actually always been intrigued. I've always kind of wondered what it would be like to write for the Salt Lake Tribune on the Mormon Church. I wonder what the ethos are there, because so much of the narrative is controlled by really only about 3 to 5 people. There's an editor of that division. There's, 3 or 4 prominent reporters. I'm sure there's support staff of maybe another, 2 or 3 people, but so much of that narrative is just controlled by a very select few.
Well, you have to remember too, and I'm looking at this right now. Do you know what the newspaper's motto is?
It's Antis, the Churchus, all the timus. Like what? I don't know.
It's a little more subtle than that, but it's Utah's independent voice since 1871. Independent of what? Independent of the church. That's literally like, you guys, they're an opposition paper. So anyone who thinks that you have objective journalism going on over there, they're just wrong.
Okay, cool. So anyway, you know what? Tamara, I'm sure you're a nice girl. You're welcome to come on the show. I'd love to actually talk with somebody from the Salt Lake Tribune about, what it's like to write for the newspaper, especially on religious affairs. I actually think that would be a super fun job. And the question is, was this just clickbait gone wrong? Was it just a misconception? Is there actually a tie to Joseph Smith that can be claimed by the Community of Christ other than just the sonship of Joseph Smith III and possible name confusion? I don't know. We've got questions. Hopefully they got answers. They're invited to come on the show anytime. Other than that, where can people find you, bro, and find your podcast? Jacob, pub your stuff right now.
If you want to check out my stuff, you can check me out on YouTube. Just look up Thoughtful Faith, or you can go to thoughtful-faith.com. That kind of has all the good stuff, and about me page. You can learn what I do and why I do it.
All right. Awesome. Sweet. Well, guys, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. Usually for the first hour or two after a video is out, we still try and answer the comments as much as we can. So please like this video. If you haven't opined yet in the comments section, please opine. And as always, for this and more, please check us out at wardradio.com.
I just feel so good.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Before you go, I want to put a little bit of a plug in here for my buddy Don Bradley. He's written a book called The Lost 116 Pages. We've talked a lot about it on this show, and you know what? There's plenty of material. We're gonna talk more. He's coming back into the studio pretty soon, and we want everybody to be familiar with his book because we're gonna talk about a lot of what is inside. So before he comes back and we have this kind of ask me anything about this book, we're gonna do a little bit of a book club and have you guys all go buy it, all read it as much as you can over the next 2 or 3 weeks, so that when he's in here and we do this little ask me anything, you guys will have all kinds of questions you can ask him. Now, he's not the best self-promoter out there, but his book is the best book. It is the seminal work of Mormon history in the past decade, and you have to get it. So make sure you guys go buy Don Bradley's book, The Lost 116 Pages, so we can talk about it when he's back in the studio. Other than that, please make sure you like this video, please make sure you share this video, and you subscribe to this channel. Also, right here and right here are 2 more videos that you can watch and check out more of our stuff if you like what you saw here. For this and more, please make sure you check us out at wardradio.com.